So let me introduce myself or reintroduce myself. My name is Sandra Garcia and I am the founder of Encounter Your Potential, a New York City-based marketing, branding, and diversity consulting firm. So you might have noticed by now that I've been doing quite a few interviews as well as discussions and conversations with small business owners, leaders, and visionaries. And this is really because I love to learn. And I realized that one of the best ways that I learn is by hearing from other people's experiences and journeys. So what I've decided to do in the spirit of sharing is gather all these conversations and discussions that I've been having and make sure that you let me know what you think about them. 94% of the folks who are with us today are planning to write a book. So we have questions.
Brilliant.
And you guys have the answers. And some folks have already submitted questions. But before we get to the questions, I want to have each of you introduce yourselves. Okay, so I'm sorting through the questions right now, but right now on my screen, I have Adonica all the way to the top left. So Adonica, share with us, who are you? Tell us what we cannot find when we Google you. Tell us something about you, and then we'll get into what motivated you to write your book.
Okay, so hi everybody, my name's Adonica Shaw. I'm based in Northern California, but I am a Pasadena native all the way from SoCal. So I am here now, but I claim Southern California. I have 3 children, so that definitely factored into what we'll get into a little bit later in terms of how I was able to approach my book. I started my career as a weather woman, which was quite interesting. Yes, it's about weather and maps and science, but it's also about knowing how to ad-lib and to be able to speak directly to people. And so I got really tremendously early coming out of college, and I was able to start my career as a weather woman. I got my break in San Francisco, and then from there kind of worked my way down the state doing the weather for Monterey, Santa Barbara, which are cities on the coastal side of California. And then from there, segued into PR marketing. I've given several TED Talks. I've run for office and owned a few small businesses and just participated in different philanthropic efforts. And as of late, after running for office, I needed some time to just be myself and to get my own personal story out there. And yeah, I'm currently working on book number 2 and raising my children in Northern California.
Amazing. What office seat did you run for?
So I ran for city council in the city of Pacifica. Pacifica is a coastal town that is a suburb of San Francisco, so maybe like a 15-minute drive from San Francisco.
Awesome. And one of the things that you mentioned is that you wanted to get your personal story out there.
Yes.
Which is very much in alignment with what we're going to talk about today. So before we jump in, let's go to Ray. Ray, where are you joining us from today?
Hi, Sandra. Thanks so much. Joining you from Dublin, Ireland. So it's great to see you over there on the East Coast and then over there on the West Coast. And it's so good. It's amazing. I'm very honored to be here. Thanks very much.
We're honored to have you here. So, Ray, you've written 5 books.
Yeah, I have actually, and under pen names or with other people, another 20 as well. So I have a lot.
Okay.
So, because I've been working with other people for quite some time, and often, you know, people want help, but I'm happy not to have my name on there so that it doesn't muddy the water of basically what I want to put out there, you know. So,
okay.
But,
I think that sparks questions as well. So 20 total books, but some have your name and some do not.
Yeah. Many of the books would not be in my name, and I'm happy that way because that they're a different genre and they're by different people with a different different things they want to say, you know. But I'm Ray Ronan. I'm a father of 2 boys. They're both 8 and 12 years old. And I was a professional athlete, thankfully, because I trying to keep fit so I can keep up with these two guys. Where I'm a shared parent, so half the week with me and half the week with mommy. So I'm an airline pilot now and an author, as well as working with Dee on Brand to Book, which I'm really honored that she's asked me to work with her on that, and as well as Glenn Mead, who's a fantastic author. I think Glenn has sold maybe 30 million books at this stage, something crazy. So we're really honored to have him on board. I'm a founder of a company called Writer's Game, where we have events. Dee was in our other event in Dublin last year or the year before, I can't remember. But what we do is we bring creatives from film, games, books, comics, and virtual reality together. And we teach them how to write for not just one of them, but for all of these things. So be a transmedia writer. And I also founded writeabook.with-your-kids.com. And the reason that happened because when our family was going through a divorce and our family breakup, I wrote and published an illustrated books with my kids, because it helped us get through. It was very cathartic and it empowered them incredibly. And now they have 4 books. You can see some of them here. They have 4 books. They're only 8 and 12. One of them's an award winner. And wow. They work remotely. They have illustrators in Argentina. They have an editor who lives over in Europe, and they've learned how to use the tools, the remote tools that we're going to talk about today with Google, which is amazing. So my mission now, as well as Brand to Book, is to empower children, to help parents create a unique bond with their kids. And my area of expertise, just briefly, I guess, is a combination of the skills from aviation, how to plan, to work with a team, to overcome obstacles, because I think that's important as a writer. You have to think that way and you have to eliminate the overwhelm. You've got to deal with potentially life-threatening situations in my job. So we know how to break those threats down, plan ahead, but have a tough resolve, because you need that as a writer as well. Adonica was saying that earlier on when she was talking about how putting herself into a book can be difficult. And especially when you actually put that out there, it can be tough dealing with that. But I know how to break down a complicated process, take away the overwhelm, put it into edible pieces, and from that create a simplified way to get it done step by step. KISS principle, and that's what myself and Z are going to do. So
amazing. And I heard a key word while you were sharing. Did you say transmedium writer?
Yeah, transmedia writers. Yeah, that's what we're trying to encourage. When we had the Writers' Game event here in Dublin, we had a whole weekend of international writers coming from all over the world, and they taught people how to don't just limit yourself to writing for a book. Learn how to write for film, for games, for TV, because especially now when you've got Apple, you've got Disney channels, you've got Netflix. And virtual reality is going to be very big. We're looking at doing some virtual reality live events in there and teaching children, because a lot of children have virtual reality headsets. The world's your oyster. So be an expert in all of these fields and don't limit yourself. And I think that's very important.
Okay, so we're gonna have several questions for you, Ray. And it's so cool that your kids are working with illustrators in Argentina and other locations as well. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have quite a few questions coming in already. Someone just mentioned that Mikki is looking good, and I would agree.
Thank you.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
So yes, so I can see you logged in via Dee's link, because at the bottom of your screen it says Dee Rivera, but we know that you are Mikki Taylor. So that is why it says Dee at the bottom of her screen. So we are a community here. We were helping each other out. So Mikki, for those of us who are here and maybe are not too familiar with you and too familiar with your background, share with us, who are you?
Well, let's see, who is Mikki Taylor? Well, certainly author, empowerment speaker, editor at large for Essence Magazine. Really proud to be a trusted authority for women of color, though, for over 30 years. And be able to tell a narrative, and certainly on a global level, has really been my passion piece. So that's a little bit about Mikki Taylor. Of course, she belongs to people everywhere, but most of all to my darling husband and children and the family. And so, yeah, she's multi-dimensional, if you will.
Definitely multi-dimensional. All right, so we'll get into your book as well. So what's the title of your book for those who are not familiar?
Well, my latest book is called Editor in Chic: How to Style and Be Your Most Empowered Self. And I really wrote this book because I was traveling the country and hearing far too much survival talk among us. And we weren't created to just survive, we were created to thrive. So I wanted to change the conversation. And, I only write books when I have something to say or something that needs to be said. So this is my third book. And I really had a wonderful time doing it. It was, I always say that life writes the story. And so it was something that we, by and large, needed to hear. And certainly that I needed to reabsorb, if you will. And because I don't like untested advice, whenever I write a book, I always invite those to the table that I'm close to and that I honor. So in this book, Iyanla Vanzant joined me, Yolanda Adams, a number of actresses like Asia Naomi King, Sanaa Lathan, certainly Alfre Woodard. And so it has those voices like Jill Scott, women who have been through things, women who have had, their own challenges in life, have survived crisis and came out better for them. Certainly it has the world of experts that I know, from dermatologists and plastic surgeons to hairstylists and hair restoration experts and so forth, because really tending your inner and outer beauty in these times, particularly uncertain times. I looked at Editor in Chic the other day and I said, well, this is a pandemic proof primer for our time. But yeah, there's so much more that goes into who each of us come to the table with.
Talking to CEOs, people that I met, small businesses, and they all have a great story. And I'm like, oh my God. And every time I had conversations with people, I'd be like, you should write a book. You should write a book. Then the whole concept of Brand to Book came about, and I spoke to Ray, who is much, he's published, I think he published more than 20 books, Ray. I mean, I saw your portfolio and I was like, Ray, I didn't know how many books you published. But anyway, so yeah, we joined forces, and we really think that we could help a lot of people get their book out there and start from A to Z. And we're doing virtual book tours. We have a lot of great ways to get someone to not only write their book, but to get it out there. And because we're all socially distancing, right? We're connecting this way. We're able to, after you write your book, we're able to do book signings virtually and do a book tour with you. And so we have some really great platforms that we could help you with to get it out there. So it's not like you're just going to write your book, put it on Amazon, and that's it. Like, we want to help you become a known author. So yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, so let's get to it. We have a few questions, and I want to get to these questions just to make sure that people are getting what they need. Now, this one, anyone can answer, and I think you would all have different perspectives. So it started off, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. What are the do's and don'ts?
I can.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
We can go around the wheel with that one. Everyone's experience is very unique and different. So as you're sharing that, I would also like to know, what was that decision-making point to write the actual book? Because we know everyone has a book in them. Thank you, Dee. And we're all living through a situation that we will all experience very uniquely. For example, living through a pandemic, there's a story there for everyone. But what influenced you to write your book, and what are some do's and don'ts that you learned along the process of actually getting it done?
Okay, I guess I'm starting. One of the things I think that I got caught up on really early on, and I think it's a stumbling block for a lot of folks, particularly just trying to write that first book, is to think that you have to know more than every single person that's out there on a particular subject. And while that can be very beneficial and lucrative, that's not always true, because there's always people that are coming after you that may not have had the life experiences that you have had, or not have been privy to certain people, certain work environments that could very much benefit from your information. And so for me, I would say a do or don't is don't be afraid to not write because you don't think that you have something that is beneficial. A good friend of mine put it this way, and I know I hope I say the quote correctly, but she says, you know, to a kindergartner, a first grader is God. So you don't need to be captain of the 5th grade to be magnificent, so to speak. You can have the information that you have, and it can be so beneficial and impactful for people who are coming after you. You don't need to go after folks that know more and have more life experiences. People are going to figure that out pretty quickly where you are. So just own where you're at and teach the people who are in alignment with your focus at that point.
Right, right. One of my favorite quotes comes from writer Freya Stark, who says, there can be no happiness in life if the things we do or the things we spend. So I think it really starts with passion. You know, if you're walking and you're passionate about writing this book and you know that you have something to say, you have to move yourself out of the way. I remember I had that fear in writing my first book, and I had to move myself out of the way so that I could get this done. When you take the attention off of yourself and look at the end goal and what the book is going to accomplish, then you will work feverishly. And you know, I think Theodore Roosevelt said it best, that comparison is the thief of all joy. The first thing to do is not to compare yourself to someone else, to understand your unique value proposition. No one else can tell the story that you have to tell, or at least they cannot tell it like you. Otherwise, you know, whatever category you're going to be in, that category would be empty or would be down to a handful of books. So since books still keep coming to market, know that there's room for yours as well. And so, you know, you really, anything that you're passionate about, you have to be transformational in your thinking. You have to be fearless in your determination to get it out there. You know, there's a big gap between knowing what to do and doing it. Every day that you rise, you should want to close that gap. You can develop yourself as a writer. It's easier than ever before. You can simply submit a book proposal and either get your book sold to a publisher, or you can decide to self-publish. You really have to decide where you want to be, what your brand value is, and what it is that you want to say.
Yeah.
I love that. So you said it's easier than ever before. So how is that?
Well, first of all, you know, if I even look at some of the authors I know, they wrote their first book by longhand. You know, we pull up to the computer, we have Google, we have all these platforms to help us structure it. You don't have to start from scratch. The main thing you have to do is start. And you know, there's a wonderful editing process. There are all kinds of resources to help you. In fact, two of the magazines that I recommend that writers subscribe to are The Writer and Writer's Digest.
You know, so never pay anybody up front as well. Always keep them, pay them in installments, because you can lose a lot of money that way. If you don't like what they're doing, you know, it can be difficult. So don't part with the cash unless you know that you're happy.
Yes. Yeah. And Carolina Castro, I hope this was helpful for you. She shared earlier that she's working on a children's book, and she wanted to know, is it easier or is it more formulaic on working on a children's book? And if there is you did mention, Ray, that the first time around it took you a year to get the children's book going, but now you can do it a lot faster. What are some of these strategies and tips that you place together to expedite that process?
Planning, templates. Most important thing you can do if you want to write more than one book, even writing the first book, is having a plan and finding the templates that will help you put your story into place. And it's the same with children's books. I mean, my kids now have their templates. They actually came up with one on their own. They came up, Finn, he was 9 at the time, and he came up with a concept. So that thing I've told you about at the very beginning is the story concept page. It's what you use to pitch to a publisher, for instance. I know it's what my friend and co-author Glenn Mead uses, and it's called a story concept page. He might write 5 of them. Which one do you want next? And they'll say, oh, that one. So you create that, and then That's your template. And then what Finn did with, he has a thing called the ideas and picture pages. So he goes and he says, okay, page 1, what happens? You know, Silver Hot Rod goes to Daytona. And then he goes online and he looks for a picture and he finds the picture that matches what he thinks it might happen on the page and puts it in there. Okay, so that's step 2. And then he writes under that and he tells the illustrator, draw a silver hot rod coming under the bridge. And that's it. And he does that for every page. And that's his template. And then the third one then is the dialogue page. Now he came up with this idea, so we call it now Finn's ideas and picture pages, which is really cool. But they're your templates. And then just use Amazon's templates that they have for picture books up there, and for they have all the different sizes. Use templates. You know, again, there's what Mikki said. You know, it's the who. It's the who, not the how. Try not to learn how to do things. You know, Adonica uses people online, and Dee's the same. Don't try to learn how to do something. Find out who can do it for you, and use those people. It's the who, not the how. That's how it is. Use your templates, use your plan. And the great thing is, once you've got those templates and you do book 1, keep them, because then you go back and go, oh, you pull them out and you do it again. Write, publish, repeat.
And
I love
really
that.
quick, I wanted to interject here, Sandra, and that's why we created Brand to Book, because Ray has worked with people, I have worked with people, and we know that as first-time authors, it's hard to find all these great people and people that are vetted. And so that's why we created this, to kind of make it affordable for small business owners or first-time authors, or even people who want to take it to the other level. So, because I had a hard time, and I'm sure Ray has years of experience, like, you know, you have to go with people that you know that are going to do a good job, just because you don't have that kind of money to just waste, and then somebody messes up your cover or doesn't really know, you know, your style. And so it's important to work with people that are vetted.
Whatever you're going to do, give it your all or don't enter in. And I think that says it all. To be risk adverse is to be success adverse. You take chances with other people every day that you live. So why not take a chance on yourself? Why not take a chance on what you have to contribute? That's all steeped in knowing your value. And so what I'll say, whatever you're writing, whatever you're doing, may you wake up every day excited to be you.
Yes.
The book just keeps going. My notes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. Dee, close it out.
So I love what everybody shared. I thought it was very inspirational. I think we all shared some amazing tips. My first tip is write and start with what you know, because I think when you write and start with what you know, you'll be able to create something, a book. And number 2, finish it. Start and finish it. Those are my 2 tips. Start with what you know, write about what you know, and finish it.
I love it. Okay. So I know that I have 3 pages of notes. So everyone else, I'm sure you have a multitude of notes. We are going to outline, we're going to start, we're going to finish. We are not going to be afraid to start working on chapter 6, even if chapter 1 is not done. We will not be risk adverse, because we don't want to be success adverse either. So we have so many great nuggets and tips. If you have any questions, please reach out to me via email, garcialowry@google.com. I'm also a full-time entrepreneur. I'm a Google partner. I'm contracted by Google. So I am in the same state of soaking in information so that I can also put it into practice. So this has been an amazing journey for me today. So thank you so much. Ray, all the way from Dublin. Mikki, we didn't ask you where you're located today.
Garden State, America, New Jersey.
Yes. You are right across the Hudson for me. I'm in Harlem right now. Adonica all the way in San Francisco. Dee, you are in Jersey.
I'm in West New York. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I love that with digital technology, we can all be connected. I would encourage everyone to also connect with the Digital Coaches page on Instagram. That way you can see what else I'm doing. You can also see what the other 10 coaches are doing. I have an event next week, Side Hustle, 2 main course. But in the meantime, as we close out today's conversation, I'm going to share a screen with the survey link, which I'm encouraging everyone to complete, but it'll also be part of the thank you email. So be on the lookout for that. And there were several questions about resources. So I'm going to follow up with a summary of all of these things so that we can all get started with our books. And we are all going to come out of this Corona quarantine with new content and material and inspiration.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so thank you so much. Someone pitched an idea to Mikki, which I'm going to share offline. It sounds like a great one. Can I be part of it? But also Ray and Dee, I'm excited to get my book started, and I'm excited to work with the two of you to get it done also.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited. We're excited.
Can't wait. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen from here, and today's session is done. Thank you so much.